Robin Mersch, the CEO of the Broadband Forum, is one of the speakers here at CommunicAsia, and I'm talking to him about the presentation he's just given. Robin, very interesting the fact you were talking a lot about cloud and 5G. You're very well known for broadband, but this is a new area for you to be speaking on.
Yeah, I mean it is. It's the fact is that broadband really sort of touches everything, and if you look at the sort of biggest sort of subjects for the broadband operators, and it's not to sort of say that that your traditional kind of physical access isn't very important. It is. It's just that probably some of the biggest sort of subjects we're now dealing with are really where we sort of touch. So 5G. Is very much about sort of fixed broadband as much as wireless. The whole idea about hybrid access and those kind of things. So that's one side of it. And for cloud, it's really where kind of broadband has moved to. So it's the potential of what does cloud do for broadband networks, and it throws up a whole load of very interesting kind of subjects.
Yeah, what are some of the challenges that you're facing? What are the aspects of broadband development that you're working on?
So I think so for 5G, you would sort of say, there's a couple of areas that are very interesting. So we're working a lot with 3GPP, the wireless standards body, and that's really looking at kind of fixed mobile convergence. Exactly how that's going to sort of operate. How you do sort of some of the sort of things about creating kind of hybrid access. So it's the kind of sort of things a lot of users would like to be able to sort of see. What they'd really like is to be connected anywhere, anyhow. They really don't care. But the question is how do you do that? So that's some of the work we're doing for 5G. But then there's also the sort of side of it which is about sort of transport. So if you have a lot more access points, which is what 5G is talking about, there's a lot more bandwidth demand. There's a lot kind of different kind of demands on the network. So things like front haul and back haul become very important. And those are the kind of things we've traditionally sort of like worked on. It's not always the most sort of exciting subjects in the world for some people, but transport is incredibly important, because if you don't have the right transport in place, then it doesn't matter what you do on the front end, it won't get delivered. So those are very interesting sort of subjects. And then for cloud, it's really kind of the promise of a lot of these kind of open source sort of activities that you've seen for the last few years. So projects like Chord, which are really interesting, but we've kind of sort of taken it to the sort of step of saying, okay, how would you make these things really deployable? And of course deployment for broadband operators really kind of comes down to how you would work in a kind of mixed technology environment. So how would you migrate? Because today you have static networks. Tomorrow, potentially, you're going to have these flexible, programmable networks. But how do you go from one thing to the other? Because you can't just do a forklift change. You've got to do it in a much more kind of methodical sort of way. So that's really the kind of areas we're working in.
So with all these new challenges and these new areas, are you finding that your membership is changing in terms of the types of companies getting involved?
Yeah, for sure. You're seeing more software companies, so that's a sort of definite. Because those are the kind of companies that are working more and more heavily in those kind of sort of like areas. So that's sort of like one. So startup software companies, but also like a lot of wireless operators, on the 5G side, because of course that's kind of the expertise you really need.
So it sounds like a new era for the forum. Thanks very much for talking to us.
Thank you.